Hello. Those of you that follow Stripy Lightbulb CIC on social media will have seen this topic in the past couple of days. But I'm doing a video because I know that I tend to reach more people when I do a video. But word of warning, it's been a really long day. And I don't have much energy that I can use for work available. So I am going to read quite a bit of this video off my phone because I've written a mini script beforehand to make sure that I cover everything that needs to be covered. But I am going to give a very brief background in how I got to the point that we're at today. So I've kind of mentioned this in various blogs and newsletters and on Twitter, whatever, for months. But Stripy Lightbulb has been part of DWP consultations as an organisation for about 9 months. And it's in these meetings that we heard that the DWP was looking at creating in-house training for their assessors. And initially I thought, oh, that's good. And then in the very apology, if you can hear my neighbours, apologies. And then in the very next breath, it was, we will not collaborate with charities or third sector organisations on this training. We will only work with specialists and clinicians. Right, that sounds great. That sounds like you've got experts working on it, but anyone that knows anything about ME will know. We've got a handful of specialists in this country. They tend to not work for the NHS and they usually are attached to charities. So if they're not working with charities, that rules out that handful of doctors. So that started to irk me a little bit. And I asked the question repeatedly, can we have some information on who exactly has created this training? And the consultancy work had been outsourced to another company. It wasn't DWP in that meeting. So they said, oh, we'll get back to the DWP and we'll let you know. They got back to us and said, you're going to have to submit freedom of information request to get that information. Okay, love the transparency, but okay. So for the past 5-6 months, I've been submitting freedom of information requests and I was getting a tiny bit of information each time, but I wasn't quite finding out who was creating this training. And a few weeks ago, it was decided by me, by my board, that I would take a little bit of a step back, not take on any additional projects because it was starting to impact my own health. So I had a conversation with the Canary, and Hannah from the Canary said, if you think you're really close to getting the answer, I'll apply for a freedom of information request for you. And I snapped her hand off. Thank you very much. Yes. So yesterday, their article was the direct result of that freedom of information request. And thank you for the heads up in that article because, they wouldn't have known there was a story there if I hadn't been pursuing like a dog with a bone for 6 months. Anyway, so I'm really pleased that we got that information. Unfortunately, all of my worst fears came true. Not necessarily that it was created by BACME or BACME, however you say it, but because they went against the NICE guideline. That, to be perfectly honest, that could have been created by absolutely anybody if they'd been given the brief, create training that directly contradicts the NICE guideline. That's why I haven't been overly back me since we found out that it was created by BACME. And we know that because in the document that is included in the text, this is currently going out live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. We wrote a blog this morning and it includes the link to the WCA training, work capability assessment, which is used for those people on universal credit that get put on the LCWRA, which is limited capability for work, something else. Anyway, so it relates to benefits that many people are on still, and are still facing cuts as a direct result of the universal credit cuts that are being debated in the House of Lords tomorrow. Anyway, so as soon as the Canary said they were going to write and publish an article, I waited for the article to be kind of on their radar to be published before I contacted West Streeting and the APPG on disability. And I said, just found this out. This is really bad because it gaslights people living with ME and it ignores the NICE guideline. Anyway, so obviously it's too soon to have had a reply from them, but the APPG for disability confirmed receipt. So that's good. And we have also contacted the Department for Work and Pensions to ask why, when we were told specifically that third sector organisations and charities the reasoning given, the reason they won't work with charities and third sector organisations such as ourselves is because of bias, which is ironic given that this training is heavily biased. They chose a charity. BackMe is a charity, it's a registered charity. They worked with BackMe because it goes with the DWP's narrative that ME is psychosomatic. So it doesn't make sense in any way, shape or form. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from this script to make sure I don't forget to mention anything because my voice is going, my memory is a bit squiffy, and I just know I would forget something. So, ready? I want to talk to you today about a serious issue that poses a direct threat to the well-being of the ME C.F.S community. Through multiple Freedom of Information requests, we've obtained the training documents used by the DWP to educate healthcare professionals conducting work capability assessments for ME C.F.S. What we found is deeply concerning. The training promotes a discredited biopsychosocial view of the illness, one that contradicts the 2021 NICE guideline and encourages assessors to question the physical reality of symptoms. This isn't just outdated, it's actively harmful. It risks flawed assessments, unjust denial of support, and causes real damage to vulnerable people already battling a poorly understood condition. Even more troubling is that while the Department of Health and Social Care champions the NICE guidance, the DWP is pushing something completely incompatible with it. One department is working to protect patients, while another is undermining them. This has got to change. We've taken formal action. We wrote to the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, asking him to work directly with the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions to ensure this training is withdrawn. We've also shared our findings with the APPG on disability, where there's already momentum around welfare reform. Let me be clear. This guidance wrongly tells assessors that ME/CFS may be psychological, recommends harmful exercise regimes like graded exercise therapy, misrepresents cognitive behavioral therapy as a cure, and instructs assessors to question whether symptoms are real. As a CPD accredited training provider, Stripey Lightbulb CIC exists to counter this kind of misinformation. We educate professionals with an evidence-based training course that respects the lived experience of people with ME/CFS. To see a government department endorsing the very stigma we work so hard to dismantle, it's unacceptable. We're pushing for 4 urgent changes. 1. Immediate withdrawal of the DWP's flawed training document. 2. A joint process to review all future guidance against NICE standards. 3. A full co-produced review of how work capability assessments are done. And 4. A retrospective review of past decisions made using this specific harmful guidance. We've chosen to engage the APPG on disability, not the APPG on ME, to avoid internal politics and focus on the welfare implications that this flawed training creates. We won't stop until every assessment reflects the truth that ME/CFS is a serious, complex medical condition, not a mindset to overcome. Thank you for standing with us. Stripey Lightbulb CIC will keep speaking up and will keep you updated. Okay, so that's the official statement. And be in no doubt, this is huge for our community, because please don't forget that the PACE trial was part funded by the DWP. Graded exercise therapy and CBT were part of that PACE trial, and that has been heavily debunked as flawed research. That's partly why it was such a big achievement of our community to get the NICE guideline 2021 implemented to say that it did not recommend graded exercise therapy or CBT as a treatment. So this is a big thing for our community, and obviously we're doing as much as we can as an organisation. And because this is a training issue, you know, they're very happy to say that we're biased because we work for the benefit of the ME/CFS community, that our training is evidence-based, it's fully referenced. We use the latest medical knowledge within our training. But in this work capability assessment training on page 15, it literally says, this is what the NICE guideline says, but BACME has got their own therapy. Have a look. And it's literally rebranded graded exercise therapy. So this is not good. Anyway, I thought I'll keep this short. Please do read the blog. I will attach it where I can, where this video is being posted. But obviously, if you're watching this on TikTok, I can't share linked. So please do go to stripeylightbulb.com, read our latest blog, and you can read it for yourself. Thank you for listening.